So you're looking at raising $1 million for your startup. We've talked a little bit about different topics when it comes to how to raise that $1 million, but now let's start diving into the meat and potatoes of this and actually talk about the ways in which the notes, the fiduciary instruments in which you're going to be able to raise that $1 million. And the first part we're going to look at are convertible notes. But it's important to understand that there really are three different parts of your capitalization strategy, how you're going to be able to get to that $1 million raise. It doesn't mean you have to take all of them, but it does mean that there are three different paths forward that you could use, or you can combine them together. The first are convertible notes. We're going to talk about that in this session. Second one are debt notes. We'll talk about that in a later section. And then factoring, which is another session we'll get into. But I want you to really understand, especially when we're talking about convertible notes, is that the average time in which an investor is going to stay with you is longer than the average American marriage. Average American marriage is about 5 years in length, and the average time that an investor is going to stay with a startup, if it continues on and doesn't fail within 5 years, is 10 years, right? So this investor may be with you for 10 years. So you might need to really think about how you are selecting your investors and who you're bringing on, because it can't always be about money. It also has to be about a good fit. But once you go through that process, there really are three different types of convertible notes out there that you're going to see. The first are safes. These were developed by Y Combinator. The second are what are called KISSes. These were developed by 500 startups. And the last one is a standard convertible note. And so let's kind of go in reverse and explain what these different things are. Your standard convertible note is in many respects kind of like a standard debt note, except that it will transfer into equity at a certain point in time. There's two essential parts of a convertible note. The first part is the amount of time it's going to take before that note will convert. And then the third part is, what is the interest on that note? You might be getting kind of concerned about having to repay interest. The reality is this: if I put in $10,000 and let's say the interest gives me another $1,000 before my note converts into equity, my $10,000 plus that $1,000 in interest will convert into equity. You never pay that out. Never seen that happen before. The other part that may or may not be on a convertible note is, what is the valuation? There could be a clause in there that states that there is a valuation. The valuation is X. Could be that a valuation will be pegged at the next round and you will get a discount of Y. There's different ways that convertible notes can work, but in standard, that is a convertible note. Now, the benefit of a convertible note is that every single investor out there will accept a convertible note. It's almost frictionless on that side of the hand versus what you may see with KISSes and SAFE. Now, KISSes were developed by 500 startups. You don't see them as often as you do see convertible notes and also SAFEs. But the reality behind KISSes are that some founders will use them, some investors will use them. In my experience, what I've seen KISSes provide versus what SAFEs provide, and even what versus convertible notes provide, is a little bit more benefits to the investors. Sometimes it's increased different types of shares, but in general, inside of a KISS as well as a SAFE, you will either have or not have a valuation. You will either have or not have a discounted rate, and you will not have or have a corporate transaction rate. What a corporate transaction rate is something as simple as saying that if we are bought, the company is bought before you turn into equity, a 3x or 2x or how many x's on that will be applied to your principal and paid back to you. So if I gave you $25,000 for an investment and you had a corporate transaction rate of 2, I would get $50,000 back, 25,000 times 2. SAFE can have those same components, but since it was created by Y Combinator, you see this in much greater use inside of the startup space. Now, SAFEs are very much accepted in the Bay Area and other places, but they aren't as accepted as well as convertible notes are across the space, especially when you're talking about some of the earlier stages in life. Now, KISSes and SAFEs do provide a lot of benefits to founders, helps them retain control because they do not automatically convert into equity. The second part is that they are easier normally to create, to write, to craft than convertible notes are. So that's why you see a lot of them out there in the wild. Now, we can get into a little bit different factors about valuations and other things, but we're going to leave that to another session. But as always, if you got any questions, got any things that are on your mind, want to dive into the topic, feel free to reach out to me at any platform, anytime. You can find me on LinkedIn.